The matrix is one of the coolest and most effective modern attacks in jiu-jitsu, but it can also be a little bit dangerous. Recently, I've seen a lot of people hurt their knee. This past weekend, Ronaldo Jr. at the Pan Ams blew out his knee trying to throw a matrix on. I've also had one of my students blow out their knee trying to do it, so I wanted to give some details on how to do the matrix more effectively and also what's causing this issue blowing people's knee out and how to be safer doing the technique. So I'm going to start off by showing 3 basic setups really quick, and then I'm going to get into the details on the finish. And if you guys like the content, be sure to click the like and subscribe button. All right, so I'm going to start off with 3 of the easiest setups, and then from there, we're going to go into the finishing mechanics, how to be safe and more effective with it. I think the first matrix anyone should learn is the setup from X-Guard. It's probably one of the easiest and one of the most effective setups. X-Guard, really commonly people will backstep here, and I have this underhook on the leg. So I want his toes pointed inwards. I'm going to jump over, throw my heel behind the knee. I'm going to grab the hip, and I'm going to shrimp out. Here, I come around, pull, and finish and come up to the back here. The next setup is from an omoplata or a triangle choke. It's really common when you go for one of these attacks, people are going to try to posture and deadlift out, and this always exposes the matrix, and the finishing mechanics are very similar to the X-Guard backstep one. Anytime you go for an omoplata, I hit the omoplata. As soon as I go here, I'm going to underhook and grab the calf, which is a very similar position to as in with the X-Guard. So as he postures up to escape the omoplata, I'm going to throw my leg over. There's 2 main finishes up from the matrix, but I'm going to show those later in the video. So I grab here on the hip, I'm going to scoop my hip out, pull, come down here and finish as well. Another easy setup is either from De La Riva guard or from K guard. This is actually the setup that Rolando is trying to use this weekend when he ended up blowing out his knee. So if I'm just in De La Riva here, I can switch to an underhook, grab my hands, I pull my leg on the inside, throw my leg over, clip in the same way we did from the previous positions. I catch the hip, shrimp out, pull around, and finish on the back here. So also very similar to the De La Riva is from the K guard. So basically it's going to be the same setup. I'm just attacking the far leg. So if I'm in this knee shield position, I clear my leg out. I'm just going to underhook and pull this leg in. As I pull it in, I throw my right leg over, catch the hip, shrimp out, pull, and come up and finish here. So some of the main finishing mechanics that give people a hard time, probably the biggest one is not paying attention to the angle of your opponent's knee. If my opponent's foot is facing forward, then it's easy to throw the matrix over. But if they turn their foot outward, it's much harder to throw that hook in, and it makes it way harder to actually finish. In fact, trying to force it in that position, I think is one of the main things that actually hurts people's knees. So let's look at that on the mat. Okay, so the first major thing to avoiding the injury here is when I throw the leg over, make sure you pay attention to the angle of his foot. I want his foot pointed inward under my shoulder. If I have a good angle, when I throw over here, I can buckle him forward and his foot's pointed inward in this kind of a positioning. But a lot of times people chase this at the wrong time. So if his toes are pointed even a little bit outward, when I'm here, his knee can rotate open. It puts a lot of pressure on my outside knee and I can't finish. So I want to make sure, even if it's not quite there, I want to jump around to get behind it. Now I can catch the hip, scoot around, pull, and finish the back take. Another big one is driving with your shin instead of your heel. So when I throw my foot over the back, I always try to get the pressure driving in with my heel so it doesn't put pressure on my outward knee. If you try to instead drive with your shin, that's where if the guy drops his body weight back into you, it can create that kind of bad pressure on the outside of your knee and cause the injury. And in general, I always try to focus on moving around my opponent than trying to force them. I see a lot of people throw the matrix in and they're trying to like chop the guy's leg down really hard and force him into like the position they want. But often when you're fighting someone much bigger and stronger than you, in general, trying to force them into the position you want is not going to work, right? So in general, when I throw my matrix over, I'm trying to actually navigate around my opponent so that I can get to the position I want. And if he resists, then I use him as a force to help me move around. And if he doesn't, then I end up changing the attack. Okay, so another major thing is where I throw my heel. So I want to make sure that my pressure is coming through my heel and not opening. This is probably the biggest mistake that hurts people's knees, because here I'm in a really compromised position that's going to put a lot of weight on the outside knee here, and that's what's going to blow the knee out, right? So instead, when I do this, I even hop and I get my heel behind, because from my heel, the weight here is very easy, right? But again, to do that, you have to make sure you get around more. So I kind of hop when I hit. So now here I hit with the heel. Now I can grab the hip and start to build. Also notice there's 2 main ways to finish this. One way is when I land here, I can shrimp out like I showed before. The other way that I often do is if the guy's postured up a lot is I don't try to bring him down. I instead slide around like that. So it's more like I'm trying to conform my body around him. So imagine he's like a statue. I'm gonna lock him in position and navigate around. That often happens when they posture hard or they're trying to stay really strong in the position, right? So I'm here, stay really strong with the leg, right? I catch here, see how I can prop my hip up? I catch the hip,
and I come around, right? One of the biggest reasons that people blow their knee out, I think, is because they're in this idea that they want to chop the guy down and break his posture. You can do it that way, but I do think it's very dangerous. All the time I'm doing a matrix, I'm just navigating around the guy. I'm never trying to chop him all the way down here. It's too much force. I'm just hopping, clipping, and coming around, so there's very little weight on my leg.
All right, guys, if you like this formatted video, please be sure to comment and let me know. Also, let me know what you guys would like to see in future video requests. All right, guys, if you guys like the channel, as always, like, share, subscribe. Thanks a lot.